On the evening of March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 prepared for what should have been another routine international flight. The Boeing 777-200ER departed Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, bound for Beijing, China. On board were 239 people, 227 passengers and 12 crew members representing more than a dozen countries. The aircraft was modern, well-maintained, the weather was favorable, and nothing about the departure suggested anything unusual. At 1:19 a.m., the co-pilot calmly acknowledged air traffic control with what sounded like a perfectly ordinary farewell. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those would become the last confirmed words ever heard from the aircraft. Just minutes later, Flight MH370 vanished from civilian radar. At first, controllers assumed it was a routine communications issue. Aircraft occasionally disappear from one radar sector before appearing on another. But this time, MH370 never checked in with the next controller. Something had gone terribly wrong. Or perhaps something had been done deliberately. As investigators pieced together the evidence, an astonishing discovery emerged. Although civilian radar had lost the aircraft, military radar continued tracking it. Instead of flying northeast toward Beijing, MH370 made a dramatic left turn, crossed back over the Malaysian peninsula, passed near Penang Island, and continued northwest before disappearing from military radar. This was no random drift. The aircraft had changed course with precision. Then came another surprise. While all routine communications had stopped, the aircraft continued exchanging automatic electronic handshakes with an Inmarsat communication satellite. These hourly signals revealed one extraordinary fact. MH370 was still flying for nearly 7 more hours. The Boeing 777 continued across some of the most remote airspace on Earth. Using sophisticated satellite analysis, investigators concluded the aircraft most likely turned south, deep into the southern Indian Ocean, a place so vast and isolated that finding a single aircraft would be like searching for a needle in an ocean-sized haystack. The search that followed became the largest and most expensive aviation search in history. Aircraft from multiple nations swept the skies. Ships crisscrossed the Indian Ocean. Autonomous underwater vehicles scanned the seafloor mile after mile. More than 46,000 square miles of ocean floor were eventually searched. Yet, despite years of effort, the main wreckage was never found. Then, more than a year after the disappearance, a breakthrough. A wing component called a flaperon washed ashore on Réunion Island, nearly 2,000 miles from the estimated search area. Over the following years, additional aircraft fragments appeared on beaches in Madagascar, Mozambique, Tanzania, South Africa, and neighboring islands. Several pieces were conclusively identified as belonging to MH370. These discoveries confirmed one important fact. The aircraft had indeed ended its journey in the Indian Ocean. But they did not reveal why. Naturally, theories began spreading across the internet. Some claimed aliens had abducted the aircraft. Others suggested a secret military shoot-down. Still others believed MH370 landed at a hidden military base or had been remotely hacked by sophisticated computer systems. Investigators carefully examined these possibilities. None were supported by credible evidence. There was no evidence of an external cyber attack, no verified evidence of a military interception. No satellite imagery showing a secret landing. No credible evidence supporting any of the more sensational claims. Instead, investigators focused on what the known facts actually revealed. The aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. Its reporting system also stopped communicating. The airplane then flew a complex route involving multiple turns before continuing for several more hours. That sequence strongly suggests deliberate human action rather than a sudden mechanical failure. Could it have been a catastrophic systems malfunction? Investigators considered that possibility. However, no known mechanical failure adequately explains the combination of lost communications, controlled navigation changes, and hours of continued flight. Could there have been a fire? Again, investigators examined the evidence. A serious onboard fire would normally prompt an emergency call from the crew. Yet no distress signal, no mayday, and no emergency beacon were ever received. The official investigation ultimately could not determine who altered the aircraft's course. Was it one of the pilots? Was it an intruder? Was there some other form of unlawful interference? The available evidence simply does not provide a definitive answer. What investigators did conclude is that someone or something under human control most likely directed the aircraft away from its planned route. Eventually, after nearly 7 hours in the air, the aircraft almost certainly exhausted its fuel supply. The final satellite handshake was received shortly before investigators believe MH370 descended into the southern Indian Ocean. Whether the airplane remained under human control until impact or entered an uncontrolled descent after fuel exhaustion remains unknown. That answer may still lie inside the missing flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. More than a decade has passed since flight MH370 disappeared. Families continue to seek answers. Search teams continue to hope, and aviation experts continue to study every new clue that emerges. The disappearance of MH370 reminds us that even in an age of satellites, GPS navigation, and constant global communication, mysteries can still exist. Until the aircraft is found and its flight recorders recovered, the final moments of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remain one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries. Perhaps somewhere beneath the cold waters of the southern Indian Ocean, the answers have been waiting all along. Thank you for joining us for this Mysteries in the Dark podcast episode. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the new podcast episodes.